Now I want to move into some of the processes that we've developed. When we made the decision to turn on the material order system and really let the computer order, manage, keep up the inventory, and do all the ordering for us and everything, it was incumbent that we streamline and became as efficient as possible with those internal processes whereby you manage inventory. Things like materials, receiving and put away, materials picking and distribution, and returns when people come in from the field. Sometimes parts and materials aren't used, and they're on the buggy or on the truck. We pick them up and return them back to the shelves, put them in the exact spot where they need to go. All those processes, receiving, picking and distribution, and returns, affect your inventory level. And it's incumbent that we make sure that we update our inventory management system so that, again, we order only what we need and when we need it. Here you see a picture of the receiving, materials receiving process. At the top photo shows kind of the old way we used to do it. Now we have a very structured process. That's a grid system, and what happens, materials, I mentioned we have multiple vendors bringing deliveries every day. We get about 6 or 8 material deliveries per day. They just see that's probably good to keep up with. Materials go in a certain spot in the grid. That grid, there's a whiteboard where that mimics that grid. We have employees who rotate throughout the day in that particular work section. They know what their responsibilities are. They know exactly what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to inspect the materials, make sure that what's received is exactly what the computer ordered, the quantity, the size, and all that. Then when they do that, the computer will give them a put-away sheet. The put-away sheet will tell them you go down X aisle, this row, and this position on the shelf to put that material. It's important that our employees do that because, again, we can't manage inventory unless things are in the right place at the right time so that it can be distributed later on. Here is another process improvement that was done. Again, I mentioned the technology, warehouse design, and the processes. Those are 3 pillars that drive our electrical storeroom improvements. We've been working since 2008 with a couple of professors from UT's Industrial Engineering Department and Logistics Department on how to best utilize the 7,000 square feet of space that we have in the warehouse. And what we've done, we've taken advantage of some narrow shelves and also the height of our ceiling. One of the things the consultant told us was we could increase our pallet storage capacity by having narrower shelves that go straight up close to the top of the ceiling. And that was not the case in the photo at the top. Also, a couple of years or so ago, we were able to get some high quality shelves from Goodies. You all may recall when Goodies went out of business, so we got some very, very good materials, some shelving materials from them. But this warehouse layout, again, we have assistance from professors. All of our high-term items, things that we use every day, splices, fuses, and things of that nature, we put that close to the truck base so that the overhead construction crews, we can pick it and put it in a bin, get it to their trucks as quickly as possible. All of our kind of sort of a slow-moving inventory is sort of located in the middle of our warehouse, and the low-moving items are located toward the back. And you'll see when we go through the warehouse tour and everything, just how this warehouse layout works to our advantage and makes sure that we pick the materials as quickly as possible and minimize the amount of traffic and time to do that.
And is so stuff barcoded, and that's how you're keeping track of where this stuff goes? I mean, there's a code that they read?
Well, the computer spits out the really number and location for that particular every 1,400 items and everything. Barcoding is the next step, and when you're kind of ahead of it. But when you go on the tour, you'll see where the new shelves that we purchased, we have already installed all the sort of information to implement barcoding. But that's something that's going to be our next step.
I mean, because I'm wondering how you know when it's used up.
Yeah. Well, right now,
if you know what comes in, and
yes.
I just wonder how you're tracking.
Yeah, what comes in again is you get a put away order,
right,
and put it, Then when those trucks come in 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 11 o'clock or 10:30 or so at night and everything, and those pick orders come in, there's a sheet we pick and put them in a buggy, but also we have to go back. This is still a manual paper process, and eventually we're going to get rid of that. But we go back to our computer, and what's taken off the shelf, pick for those.
So using part numbers and not barcoding.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But barcoding is the next step.
Do you have much stuff getting lost? I mean, is your success rate of getting people to put things where you want them to go, is that actually happening?
It's getting better, and also this would be a good time to talk about again how our inventory management system sort of helps us and keeps us honest, so to speak, and make sure that we do keep up with all of our materials, because a lot comes in. Our inventory management system requires that for all the 1,400 materials that are in the warehouse, that we do a cycle count. Cycle count is a way of doing a sample test of materials. We categorize our materials in 4 buckets: A, B, C, and D. A being the most fast-moving items, and B being the slow-moving items. But every day we do a sample from each of those buckets to see exactly what's on the shelf, and it's a random sample, and it's really a sample that's given to us by the computer. Someone goes out and physically counts what's in the shelf versus what the sheet says. What we try to do is minimize any differences between what's in the computer and what we actually have on the shelf. Now, I will say this, our cycle count accuracy has improved dramatically because of the warehouse layout and all the other processes that we've improved. In 2008, our cycle count accuracy was around 80–85%. Today it's around 93%.
Great.
We still could do better. And sometimes, when the pick plan says, here's materials that came in for today that need to be put away in this order, a lot of our electrical materials, they look alike, and sometimes you can put it on the wrong shelf, and everything. It's kind of easy.
Yeah.
But really, when we go to the barcode system, that should eliminate that problem. I mentioned earlier, and we talked about a huge advancement in the electric storeroom, going to an electronic material requisition process. You can do it from laptop computing in your truck, or in the department level, or in a kiosk that's located back there. But this right here is kind of what happens, kind of sort of the end result. When 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when those trucks come in and we pick orders, that's generally what it looks like, a buggy, and we have cages for all the work crews. I mentioned that there were 25 construction crews, but we have 25 cages, so that the next day, when the construction foremen come in, they don't have to even talk to us. They pull up the truck bay, open their cage, pull out their buggy, load their truck, and they're on their way. So that's, again, another efficiency, huge improvement, and something that both on the procurement side and overhead construction side, it certainly has been a tremendous asset and for everyone. It's worked well for all of us.
I'm sorry, are they using motorized buggies, or are they just manual type?
They're the manual, yes.
Do any of our items, do they have like a shelf life? I mean, do things go bad that you have? Is there something that in the computer are pretty well? I mean, there's nothing that goes bad, like you have to use it in a certain electrical, or they rust, or they...
It's all uses,
once you get it, it can be there for 100 years and it's going to be
It's electrical hardware, kind of what you see, transformers and things, what you see on the pole and what you see in the payload, that's exactly what we have back there, and all the other bolt screws and things that makes it go along with it.
Dennis, when you have a big storm and you have other crews coming in from other places, how do you handle that?
We do go into a different operating mode. It's almost impossible to have a materials requisition system when you're trying to get things out. What we basically do is sort of open the gates, so to speak, and say, look, tell us what you want, and go get it, and we'll sort of figure it out later. Usually a storm, we operate on what's called a blanket requisition. We keep tally of everything that's pulled, but we don't reconcile or account for it until after that storm event is over, because again, the critical thing in the storm is speed and making sure that those crews, whether the KB crews or crews from other utilities, get what they need when they need it so they can get out and again restore service and reliability.
Another question I had about that, when in this last storm, did we run out of anything?
No, sir. I was
Didn't
going to get to that. That was going to be my last talking point. And that really is kind of a tribute to the electronic order system because, again, some of the old timers said, no, you better not turn the ordering loose to a computer and everything. But I will say this, and Tracy Hayes, our procurement manager, can attest to this. Our order system was put to a test, and it was stressed. Now, we ran... Mike Bowden doesn't want to hear this, but there were times we had inventory levels that were really sort of close, getting very close to the bottom and everything, but we never ran out of anything. And that was a true tribute to the improvements that we made.
So Dennis, on the other hand, though, the system would say, oh, we sold all this stuff in 1 month, so we had to tweak down the demand based on that month. We didn't want to order everything, reorder everything because it all went out the door in a couple of weeks. That was part of the software tweaking, I guess.
Exactly.
Let me also ask this, so the guy that's in the truck and he uses a fitting or something out in the field, and he's got to manually enter that on his laptop or whatever to be replenished the next day or in a cage waiting for him. So the goal is someday maybe he'll have just a magic wand with a code reader that just he scans it and that's his way of verifying when
Does he enter numbers, or does he have a checklist where he can just, yeah, I need that, 2 of those, like that? Or does he have to type every single number?
Oh, no. It really, you may recall this slide, it's user-friendly.
Yeah.
It is extremely user-friendly. And sometimes there are even pictures of some of our materials. I know what that is. There's a picture and a name, and they click on that, and
Wow.
they don't have to go through all the
Yeah.
codes and things of that nature. Again, it is extremely user-friendly. I had to be, quite honestly, because we know that they're busy. This is not their cup of tea. Their cup of tea
Right.
is out there restored service.
Right, they don't want to be computer experts,
Exactly.
they just want to fix these.
Exactly.
That's how we all feel.
And again, to sort of wrap up, the benefits from, again, the last 3 years focusing on technology, material, warehouse redesign, and processes and everything, we've been able to reduce crew waiting time by 20 minutes per day. That resulted in a $400,000 annual productivity time increase. And also, from 2008 to 2011, FY11, there's been a 17% increase in construction field activity. In other words, the trucks are out in the field 17% of the time more often than they were before we started these automated systems. We virtually eliminated the same-day material request. 88% of the time we get a requisition for materials, at least a half day or a full day in advance. And that certainly was an efficiency. And we reduced warehouse personnel. Back in 2008, it took 11 people to handle all the material requests, and now we have only 8 employees. So a tremendous savings are there. And
Yes, let me ask you something. When someone gets ill, you've got 8 employees, okay, so they have to work very efficiently. When someone gets ill, surprised, do other people suck it up, or do you all have people that you can call for backup if you really need it?
Suck it
Yeah,
up.
they suck it up.
But sometimes, sometimes it gets, you might.
They just can't get sick that often.
Yeah, well. I'm just thinking, like if you had a storm, like you had these storms, if someone was sick, you could reach a point where they couldn't suck it up. You know what I'm saying?
well,
So it seems like you should have at least a backup if you.
in the last storm event, there were employees from underground construction who really were familiar with our warehouse and our processes.
Mhm.
They came over and helped out, and that was a tremendous help. So that was,
Okay.
again, that's,
Yeah.
one corporate initiative. We had other parts of KU helping us out, and that helped out a great deal.
Okay.
Ladies and commissioners, that concludes my presentation. I should have said on the front end that this presentation is sort of the appetizer. The tour of the warehouse is going to give you dessert. So.
Very well done.
Thank you. One quick question. All right, so imagine the electrical division is, 10 times more products and demands and everything else. So the other divisions following suit with the
Yes.
efficient processes? Or?
As a matter of fact, this past, I think it's July, or June, Tracy Hayes and his group started really the same type of process in our water division over at the Larry Fleming Center. Again, same type of process, focused on technology, warehouse design, and processes. Same model over there.
Dennis, you talked about the barcoding. What's your timetable for doing that?
We're going to start as soon as possible. Now, I think it's maybe the next 6 months or so.
Is that a budgeting cost issue?
No, it's just it's kind of a checklist, and once we finish one pass, we've already mentioned. But barcoding is definitely in the very near future. And again, as you'll see when you look at the shelving, physically we're already set up for barcoding. It's just a matter of developing process and procedures and training employees and getting it done.
Would the manufacturer will they put the barcodes on everything, and will we have our own number, or do you just use their number and they send that and we have it like that? Is that how that's done? Their number, and we just have to put it in our system. Okay. So we're not adding another step in between.
Keep it as basic as possible.
Sounds so simple. Probably not going to do it.
How expensive was this software system?
It was an extension of our financial management system. So it was really a purchase with our financial management system.
Okay.
So really we extended that technology for supply chain.
All right, great.
Commissioners, the next step, as Dennis mentioned, is the tour, and I'll introduce Tracy Hayes. He's our manager of procurement, and he's the guy on the ground that's made sure that this was implemented effectively, and he's really done a yeoman's job. So I thank him for that. I will tell you, though, that he's very, very, very strict about safety in the warehouse, so we're all going to go out and get our PPE on before we start the tours, and that's just outside the door. As you go down the hallway to the right, there's a restroom. If anybody would like to use the restroom before we go out into the warehouse, you can. And we arranged this in a circuit, and we had lunch in here, so if anyone, it may take a little longer than we planned. If you have to leave, feel free to do so. Just turn your equipment in and scoot out. We've loaded a lot into it. We want to make it available to you who have the time, but if you don't, we recognize you may have to skip out. So, Tracy, you have it.
We'll head out, and we have
I think we need to officially
Yeah, we do.
Let me just, Mr. Jones, you got a nominating committee.
That's right. Yeah, the nominating committee met today before our board meeting. We had 19 new applications for the commissioner slot that I'll be vacating at the end of this year. City charter requires that we submit 5 or more names to the mayor by the end of October. So at our October 20 board meeting, the committee will recommend 5 or more names to the board for the board to bless and send on. So we are up and running.
Is there any other comments from anybody, commissioners or elsewhere? Okay, well, we'll be adjourned and take a tour. We're all yours.